Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to cover some of the general rules that apply to all of the symbolic stars. They are of course some that have slightly different rules that will be noted, but my primary source are two books from Master Patrick Chu, and the books are entitled Bazi Destiny Stars, Auxiliary Stars. And it says book 1 and book 2 and blah, blah, blah. So these two books are my primary source, but I also look up other information in Chinese, of course, that talk about these to get a broader view. Now, these two books cover 70 of the 108 auxiliary or symbolic stars out there, and I plan to cover all of them and as many of the remaining 38 that I can find quality information on. Now, most of these stars are not important. They have very little power, and I think that's why he only covers 70 of them. But I will do my best to fill it in. But I'm quite sure that those remaining stars are not important stars. And in fact, most of the 70 are not that important either. So most of these stars have some basic rules, and I don't want to repeat that in every single video. I'm going to refer to this video in the others, and the one video I have out already about the heaven nobleman, this also basically applies to it. And so I'll cover that here so I don't have to repeat it every single time. Now, some of the stars have slightly different interpretations of the details. And if they don't agree with what I talk about here, then I will note that in the video so that you know that we have to look at one particular star slightly differently. Now, with every symbolic star, there is a focus entity, and it's a stem or a branch, as far as I know. I haven't seen anything different up to now. And then there's a completion entity, which is also a stem or a branch. The focus is what you look for in your chart that you're basically guaranteed to have. And the completion one you may or may not have. But if you have both, then you have that formation. I think that's fairly obvious. The focus is typically the day master, the year stem, or the month branch. And which one it will be stated very clearly in each video. To have the formation, you must first find your focus stem or branch, whichever it happens to be for that particular star, and then see if you have the completion entity. Most of the time you're going to be disappointed because there's only one for each one, and you've got a basically 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 12 chance of having what you need to have that particular symbolic star. Now, it is possible that some formations may not cover all stems and branches. That is, if it is based on a stem, there are 10 stems, but there are 12 animal signs. So some of those animal signs might not be in that particular formation. So that's just the way it is. Now, in my tables, the focus will either be on the top or it'll be on the left. And occasionally I'll do a couple columns, but I'll have a blank column in between. So it'll be on the left of each of the sets of columns so that it'll be clear which is the focus. And of course, I will talk through it too. Now, if the symbolic star, that is your focus and your completion entities, are both there, and it's in your natal chart, it's permanent. It'll always be there. And of course, just like everything, a luck pillar will also create a temporary condition, and in this case, it's a temporary symbolic star for that 10 years. This is just as good for those 10 years as if it is in your natal chart. But outside those 10 years, you don't have it. That's just the way it works. Rule number 1, a countered element or a clashed branch will significantly reduce the quality of the formation. There are some that they say might even make it like opposite, from going from being good to going to being bad. But in general, it just reduces the quality. It makes it, it just makes it much harder to tap into. Now, what do I mean by this? Everybody probably remembers what a clash is, because this is one of the first things everybody learns in Bazi. And this is a two-way clash. So the horse clashes the rat and the rat clashes the horse, and so forth. Most people know this. When we're talking about stem countering, it's directional. Wood will counter earth. Earth does not counter wood. So it's directional. So you have wood countering earth, earth countering water, water countering fire, fire countering metal, and metal countering wood. And that makes it's actually that triangle or the star shape thing in the, when you're looking at the path of the growth cycle or weakening cycle, if you like. Now, here, yang counters yang, yin counters yin. They don't cross. So yang wood will only counter yang earth. Yang wood will not counter yin earth, and vice versa. So yin wood does not counter yang earth, but it does counter yin earth. Hope that's really, really clear. Rule number 2, if an element that creates the formation, that is the completion entity, if that element is an unfavorable element, it also reduces the quality or the strength of the star, but it's not as bad as if it were countered. So and if you don't have a lot of that element in your chart, that even if it is an unfavorable element, lots of times it will help balance your chart, and so it's really not that bad. But it does have some effect. It may make it harder to like make the right decision to help you, and so sometimes you have to think a little bit more clearly. Rule number 3, and this is a repeat, but I will always get somebody to ask me this. Yes, a luck pillar gives the same energies for a decade as if it were in your permanent chart. Same strength, but just for those 10 years. And once that's gone, or before it comes, you don't have it. It's quite simple. Now, a branch being in DE may also reduce the quality if the branch is either the completion or the focus. Now, this is a maybe, and that's because not all schools actually recognize DE. That DE is death and emptiness. Sometimes it's called the void. DE, to me, DE kind of comes from bookkeeping. DE comes about from listing the 60 possible pillars, all the stems and all the branches possible, into 5 columns of 12 rows. And the 2 animal signs at the bottom of that, each column, will be in death and emptiness. That's how the rule goes. I think I did cover this already. Why it's only those 2 at the bottom, and they will have the same element as the 2 at the top. And this is why it's considered to be in DE, because maybe that energy is weakened. I'm not sure why it's not the first 2, or why it's not both sets, the first 2 and the last 2. It never made a whole lot of sense to me. Because you can actually list that same pillars, all those 60 pillars, in 6 columns of 10 rows, and you don't have any repeats of the elements, and so there's no DE. This to me is more bookkeeping than reality. So Edgar Lockton-Jung, who I refer to regularly, his school does not recognize DE. So you don't have to be too worried about that. I mean, this isn't really agreed upon, what that DE is actually even there, let alone being important. Rule number 5, the location of the stem or branch creating the formation, that is the completion entity, has meaning. It's not just, oh, you have it and that's it. In general, if it's in the year and you're talking about certain energies or certain things, the people that are affected or affect you the most will be the wider public or the higher ups above your boss. These are people that are more distant from you, people that you don't know personally. And if you are, of course, ever a politician or a YouTuber, the public is the more important one. If you work in a big company where there's a big echelon from the CEO downwards, then it's probably the higher up people beyond your boss that this refers to. That if you have that star, and let's say it is a day master that is the focus, and your branch, which it could be, happens to be in the year, this is what it means. If it's in the month, if the completion entity is in the month, then it's your coworkers or your immediate boss. And it could be both, but this is also, if you are in a very small company, it could be all the way up to the top, because most small companies don't have much of a hierarchy. And if you are in a business and you have a partner, this is where it would be located here, because they are sort of your boss. If it's in the day, it usually refers to your spouse or significant other. Some people very, very close to you. When it comes to family, this is a little bit vague. Usually family is in the month, like siblings. Your parents could be in the month, and of course, if they're even older, they might even be in the year. But in general, this is not where you're really worried about things. It's more, day-to-day energy, day-to-day life. So that tends to be a little bit more focused towards work, unless it's the day, because then it's family life. It's your immediate family, not necessarily, as long as you're an adult, it's not your siblings. If it's in the hour, it'll either be your children or ideas. That's the most common. Of course, if you don't have children, it means your ideas. Very occasionally, it'll mean investments. And that's when a symbolic star specifically is about money. Otherwise, it'll be your ideas. Now, occasionally, this location of where the completion entity is can be interpreted in terms of time rather than in terms of people. And here, the year would represent your youth before you are able to legally leave home, that is, before you're recognized as an adult. And the hour would be your old age. And of course, the month and the day is somewhere in between. Usually the month is the early part of your career, and the day is the sort of the middle part of your career. Now, only certain symbolic stars use this interpretation. So this isn't a rule. It is, or at least not a rule for everything. And if this is the way a certain star does its interpretation, I will note it in that case. You shouldn't consider this for all stars. I will be very specific if it is for that particular star. Now, the rules apply to most, if not all, symbolic stars. I haven't found one where it doesn't apply, but I haven't looked at every single symbolic star out there. So I don't want to make a blank or blanket statement when I'm not 100% sure. Now, whenever there's any significant deviation from the rules I have just discussed, I will note it in that particular video, and it would be important. Otherwise, it's not worth talking about. Again, there are 108 symbolic stars, and I don't want to repeat all these rules every time, so I will refer to this video. And you really should watch this video whenever you don't remember it too well and you want to apply that symbolic star to your life or use that energy. Now, absolutely everybody has positive and negative symbolic stars. I have never seen a chart that's all negative or all positive. But there's no reason for you to be worried, even if you have more negative ones than positive ones, because Bazi governs only 1/3 of your life path. It is not the thing that rules your life. Making wise decisions can make your life better than your Bazi alone might indicate. Also, of course, making poor decisions could make your life worse than your Bazi indicates. So your decisions that you make, the choices that you make, are more important than your Bazi. And this is why I don't worry too much about mine. And also, it's kind of late to worry about it because, I could retire now if I wanted to. So that's it. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Again, you only have to watch this once if you can really take in the rules, but watch it whenever you need to, if you need a refresher about exactly what goes on. And I will refer to this video in my subsequent videos on symbolic stars. Thanks again.